Welcome back. And today's topic is a little bit different, and it takes a little more explaining as I really have learned this and have communicated this over the years. It's going to be kind of a differentiation in words or ideas that maybe you're used to thinking about, and it really comes from my book, The Magnetic Leader, in chapter 7, where I talk about trusting your insight. See, here's the thing. Insight is something that the way I define it is something that you just literally know. You know something is off. You know something is a certain way it needs to be. You just know. It's knowing. Whereas intuition, which is what I think we use synonymously a lot of times as far as words go, is more about a feeling. Like that's, you talk about a mother's intuition, right? Like moms just feel something's off and they don't know what it is, but they just feel it. Whereas insight, I believe, the way I define it, the way I coach leaders on really tapping into it is you just know mentally, and what happens is many times you don't truly have evidence of it until after things are revealed later. And I've had these moments in the past where I've just known that I need to make a decision, or we as an organization need to make a decision, or something was off, and there was no evidence of it at the moment, but I just knew. You wouldn't have convinced me otherwise. I just knew that it was the way it was. And then basically down the road, could have been weeks, months, even years sometimes, that knowledge came to really pass, and people were like, "Hey, you said that back then, but now it's evidence that what you thought really happened." And it's hard to explain. As a person of faith, I believe it's God giving me thoughts and understanding about things that I shouldn't have understanding about, or others have that understanding. Whereas to me, I look at intuition as I kind of scan the area around me. I kind of scan the situation. I have a gut feeling, as they say, and that gut feeling is proven right. But it's also, there's been these external factors that have kind of informed that thinking and that decision. But the reason I want to bring this up is because there's a problem for a lot of leaders without experiencing the good side of this, right? Where we second guess ourselves. We think, surely that's not right. Like, I don't, what I'm thinking, what I feel like I know, it can't be right because there's no evidence, right? So you're guessing and you're thinking, well, this is just a whim, but it's really not a whim because I believe that ultimately, I believe it's God giving you knowledge that you shouldn't have otherwise, that you're able to apply to your leadership. And so you really need to be aware of second guessing what you know. Sometimes with experience, right? It does grow with experience that you have a database in your mind of things that have happened in the past where you're like, I may not have had this exact same situation occur, but I just know that this is going to be the way forward, or I know this is going to be the answer to this problem. I know this is going to be the solution. So beware second guessing yourself. And I share the story in my book about a former coaching client where she second guessed herself a lot. And then ultimately things just kept coming to fruition. And so it really inspired me to talk about her story because she didn't give herself enough credit. And many times leaders, we just fall into this trap. We don't give ourselves enough credit for knowing things that are going to help the situation, that are going to help our organization, that are going to help our careers, whatever it may be. And when you know something's off, when you literally say, I can't point to evidence right now, but I just know something's off, and you're not able to be deterred from that, that is when your insight is really pinging. It's when that insight is really something you need to pay attention to. Once again, it's a small variation in how we typically use insight versus intuition as far as the language we use. But I do believe it's a subtle enough but impactful enough difference to bring it up today, because it helps you respond decisively. When you trust your insight, you can respond more decisively because you're saying, look, maybe the evidence isn't right in front of us yet. Maybe, all the answers, all the pieces aren't of the puzzle aren't right here, right now. But I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is the way we go. It's kind of like taking a hike through the woods and you feel lost. But for some reason, you're like, I know we need to go down this path. I know we need to go this direction. And it may feel like guessing at the beginning. It may feel like guessing to other people around you, and they're hoping that you're right. But the reality is that when you just know, you know. And it's something that is hard to explain. And this was the hardest chapter to write in my book. It's the hardest lesson to teach in my curriculum for my magnetic leadership course and workshops. But I also think it's one of the most powerful because it's just that whole thing of, based on our life journeys, based on our life experiences, based on our faith and belief, we can know things that make no sense to everybody else around us. Once again, it's not just that feeling of intuition, like I see some different things going on. I feel like something's off, or, it's not just feeling based. This is like knowledge based, like in your head, your brain. It's not emotional, it's logical. And you're trusting that logic, you're trusting that insight, and you're saying, look, this is what we need to do. This is how we need to move forward. And asking you to trust me. And I know it's a step of faith for you to trust me on this. But when you get to this point in your leadership where you really embrace this and you start to trust yourself, then you're actually going to be more persuasive and more able to get other people to trust you as well. And here's the thing, the more you're proven right along the way, the more that you will trust yourself, the more that others will trust you. They won't need as much evidence. And I think that's where one of the challenges is for leaders today is people are looking at leaders and they're basically saying, look, show me your results, show me what you've done, show me that I can follow you and not, run off a cliff, as they say, right? Like I'm going to follow you, I'm going to trust you in this, but you haven't proven yourself to me yet, so I'm really putting myself out there. That's where a lot of people feel. But as leaders, when you have credibility because you've trusted your insight, you've implemented things, you've proven yourself trustworthy because you didn't just go off of sporadic emotional reactions, or you didn't just, trust what other people have said, even though it went against everything in your heart and your mind about what you think you should do. When your evidence is there, then people trust you more. But you have to, it's like a muscle you have to build. It's something that you have to just work on, and it feels like a step of faith many times to trust yourself because you're thinking against all odds, right? Like I don't know why I know this, and I don't know why I'm so convicted about this, or understand this the way I do. But when you trust that and you go with it, and in time it's proven right, then guess what? You're like, hey, I can do that again, and then a second time and a third time and so forth. You start to just build that muscle of trusting your insight because I don't believe it's accidental. I believe it's very intentional. I believe it's very critical as a leader. I mean, this is where I think experience really comes into play. The longer you've been at it, the longer you've had leadership experience, the more that you've made the right decisions, even when it didn't look like the right decision in the moment. Once again, your confidence grows, your competence as a leader grows, your trustworthiness grows, and people start to say, you know what? I don't know how you think that or where you're getting that information or whatever, but I trust you as the leader. I trust you as the person I'm going to follow because you've been right before, and I trust that you're going to be right again on this. So this is where faith and leadership come into practice and come into play together. And I just want to bring this up because I just think that too many leaders are second guessing themselves, or we're waiting too long to try to figure out enough evidence to support what we know in our heart and our mind to do, and then the moment passes. I remember years ago, I think it was an autobiography, a book by Colin Powell, and he was talking about how, in the military, when they were making plans, that they were making decisions about strategy and tactics in the military based on about 60% of the knowledge that they felt like they needed, but they didn't have time to waste. So they didn't wait till it got to 70 and 80 and 90%, and certainly not 100%, of evidence. They were saying, look, at 60%, we've got to make a decision and we've got to go and we've got to hope that this is going to work out right. As leaders, that's hard. It's hard when you don't know. You can't predict. I've been in so many meetings where progress has been held up because people want to know for sure, for certain, that there's going to be a 100% success rate. The reality is that's just probably never coming. And many times you lose that window of opportunity when you're waiting for 100% confirmation. And I remember sitting in board meetings of nonprofits and organizations over the years where I just sat there so frustrated because I'm like, our potential to do a certain thing, our potential to achieve a certain goal, was so great. But if we were waiting for 100% confirmation, it just wasn't there. But I knew in my mind that what we needed to do was right in front of us. But yet I was beholden at that time in particular to other leaders who were making those decisions. I couldn't just step out on my own and do it solely and single-handedly. It was a team and collaborative approach, organizational approach. And so we lost opportunities. There were times where that doubt, that fear crept in, and we lost opportunities, and those windows of opportunity closed. That potential we had for certain projects and impact went away with time because we didn't take those steps forward. So I understand as leaders we have to measure, the pros and cons. We have to weigh those things. We have to be thinking about worst case scenarios as well as best case scenarios and putting together plans that we hope are going to be the right plans. But once again, when you know as a leader that something is a decision, when you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is the thing I need to do, sometimes you just have to boldly take that step forward and that step of faith and say, you know what, you may not believe me now, but evidence will prove me right later. And that's a hard place to be. It feels like no man's land because many people who are afraid of those situations, they're going to back away. Some people are going to cast doubt and speak badly of you, poorly of you. But the reality is that you need to trust your insight. And like I said, that is developed over time with experiences, with just doing it one time after another to get those reps in and trusting that, you know what, I don't know why this makes sense to me. I don't know where all this knowledge is coming from, but I know this is the path forward. And being confident about that for yourself to keep moving forward, but also being confident to invite other people to follow you into the unknown is really critical as a leader, and especially in different projects that you're working on. Some things are safer than others. Sometimes it's a big risk that you're leading forward in. And I get that. That's super hard. It really is. But when you're trusting your insight and you're confident that your decision making and your path forward is the right thing to do, you just have to take that step of faith and go all in on it. And I'm telling you, it is a challenge. It is a challenge. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's easy. That's why this is a hard topic to even talk about because it's hard to really have a conversation about it without unless you're with people who have been there and done that and really understand what you're talking about. Because like I said, sometimes it's taken me, there's been times where even like 5 years later, I've had people come back to me about something and say, you know what, I didn't see certain things at the time. I didn't understand why you made that decision or why, this happened, but now I see it. That's 5 years, right? I mean, not that I was even waiting for these people to confirm that I was right, but it took 5 years for some people to see what I knew and what I saw and how I operated 5 years prior. That is a long time, like most people forget about situations over that period of time. But I literally had that phone call one time with somebody that he told me, he said, Chris, I had no clue, that something was going on or this was happening or that's the reason. And I didn't have all the answers at that time, but I knew what I needed to do. I knew the steps forward. And so sometimes, like I said, it may be in days, sometimes maybe in hours, sometimes maybe in weeks or months, sometimes it's years before your decision is confirmed. And that's a tough place to be when you know that people are kind of keeping that cautious eye on things and wondering if you made the right decision. But this is the zone that leaders live in. When you're taking big steps and leading into the future and being visionary and doing amazing things, you're going to have to step out in faith and be willing to go it alone in many cases until it's proven otherwise. I think of Steve Jobs, right? I think of somebody who, from an innovation standpoint, he created these amazing products that we now take for granted with iPods, iPhones, iPads, computers, all these things that Apple has created over the years. And people didn't believe in the products like he did. People didn't believe in what he was building with his business partner and with his team. And I'm sure there were people on the team that questioned his sanity many times. That's what innovators face all the time, right? Is whenever you're entering a new market, creating a new market in some cases, you sound crazy. And when you trust your insight and you lead with insight, you may sound crazy and appear crazy to some people until it all makes sense, when all the pieces come together. But be bold, be courageous, trust your insight. I'm not saying don't trust those feelings in the gut that I'm talking about, like when I use the word intuition. Pay attention to that too. That's a signal to pay attention to. But today, what I really want to focus on is that insight, that knowledge that you have, that you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is the decision to make, this is the direction to go, this is the way to handle this. Don't doubt it. Just go and do it, and let time play out and let things make sense down the road. The closer people are to a situation as far as emotionally, they're going to respond differently. Some people are going to be like, I'm with you, I get it. Other people are going to be like, I'm afraid of the loss, I'm afraid of the downside, so I'm going to back away. You're going to get critics that are going to be chirping at you at times and doubting you. But the reality is, when you know the right decision to move forward and you do it with faith and boldness and courage, and it's proven right down the road, it just gives you that much more confidence the next time you face a challenge. And as leaders, we're always kind of stepping into new opportunities, new things that we maybe haven't ever experienced before. So trust your insight. When you feel like something's off, trust that. When you feel like it's the right decision to go in, trust that. But know beyond a shadow of a doubt that when you truly trust your insight and you take those steps and you see results, it's going to build that confidence in you. It's going to build your character. It's going to build your reputation. It's going to build that trustworthiness that other people will follow you into new unknowns. So trust that insight and don't second guess yourself and fight that resist the second guessing because it's going to come. The second guessing will come, but you have to fight against that, resist that so that you can ultimately move forward in the way that's best for yourself and the team and the organization. So hope that's helpful. One of the toughest things about this is not having a thinking partner when you're going through this. I just got off a call with one of my clients, and they're going through some transitional things, some challenges, and there's a lot of unknowns. But at the same time, they know that they need to make wise decisions to move forward for themselves, for the organization. And I bring that up because if you need that kind of help to really process through the feelings and the emotions and all the swirling thoughts that come with this topic, then I encourage you to go to McClureCoaching.com, apply for a free strategy session. We'll talk about what's going on. What is the situation in your personal life, your professional life, your organization, your team, whatever it may be, and we'll figure out what's the best next steps, the right plan to move forward so that you can gain this confidence in trusting your insight as a leader. So I'm here to help you. Go to McClureCoaching.com, check that out. Would love to connect with you. But until next time, work on really thinking about like what do I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I need to apply to this situation? What do I know is off and I need to address that, trust that knowledge, trust that insight, and step forward in faith and in boldness and courage. Take care. God bless, and we'll see you soon.